Thank you.
Yep.
There he is. There he is.
I see you, Paul.
Good, sorry. Thank you. There you go.
Last night, there was this guy in there, maybe in his 60s, I don't know. He ordered a beer, and when he came, he uncapped it, unscrewed it, and he took his napkin and he wiped. And then he got his meal. And I looked over there, and he was just talking to himself and carrying on a conversation. He'd take a bite of food, he'd look through it, and he'd talk, and he'd smile, and then he'd eat some more, and he'd look over this way, and he'd talk some more, and I thought, is he on the phone? Well, I couldn't see anything. It looked like he was on a phone. He talked to himself and smiled and had conversations with both sides of the table the whole time he was sitting there. I don't know what was
That is just stay. Yeah.
I never saw anything like it. I mean, he just
Just reading it, morning.
was true. I mean, he was smiling, and I don't think he was. I mean,
You think he could eat?
I think he was just talking.
Off kilter.
I do. Real off.
Which restaurant?
Miranda's. I've seen the man somewhere, but I mean, off and on, but I didn't know who it was.
Was the planning commission there getting their usual after planning commission drink?
That's what they said they were
That's what
wanting.
I mean, apparently that's what they do.
You never asked me to come.
I know, me neither.
This
All right, we're in business.
I think we should show up one time,
I think we should.
just to see what they're talking
I
about.
think so.
Well, who's in the club? Nah.
Mike Goodford, Mike
Mike.
Moscow, Steve
Yeah.
Carpenter,
Carpenter, yeah.
and Danny Kruger.
Yeah.
That's a quorum.
Probably hunting dogs, something.
Yeah, there you go, dogs.
I just thought we'd had the, you know. Sorry. It's been known to happen. before.
We've heard of such things, Joe. All folks ready?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, like call board supervisor to order as always. Let's start with the pledge of allegiance from the moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Hopefully Amber will be joining us here shortly. What do we have? Anybody have anything that we need to add to the agenda?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. As always, let's start with public comment. Public comment. Livingston, you looking at the Vimeo?
I was just testing the YouTube.
Good. We have any public comment?
Not yet, sir.
All right. So no public comment. Let's go right into the budget presentation. Mr. Viscus? Start with the Skyline Community Action Partnership. And we're trying to get out of here by 5 o'clock. So,
Testing.
yeah.
Very good.
There you go.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies of the board, and Cardi. Make him separate. I want to thank you all for your time. Skyline is asking for even funding this year, from last year, if you will. a total of $47,585. That money is going towards 4 2-bedrooms for low-income rentals, rental assistance for 30 families, which totals $175,000, funding towards 2 teachers' salaries for 39 at-risk preschoolers. It helps employ a family support specialist who does home visiting services for 8 at-risk Madison County mothers and their infants. Educates 12 students at the high school here in Madison on further education goals. Goes towards mortgage and rental counseling for 30 families in Madison County. And $4,000 of it goes towards the $8,700 that we spent on emergency home repairs for 4 families. So with that, in good fashion for Clay, if you guys have any questions, I'd gladly answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, for the record, Skyline Cap is my employer, so I will not be participating in this discussion.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Viscus and his extreme efficiency? Thank you all very well.
Yes, very well. Thank you. Hope the same for you guys. Thank you for all you do. I know it's a difficult job. Cardi tells us every day.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Lacy,
Yes, sir.
that's the Learning Center.
All right, I'll come up and tell you since I'm gonna go through this mask. I'm almost way up here.
So I'll echo and thank you for the time this afternoon. And obviously, we've made it through the past year with lots of cleaning, lots of rearranging. Like most other businesses coping with the stress of COVID-19, all of this has given us an even greater determination to provide early childhood education along with before and after school care for school-age children, which now has included virtual learning when the children are not attending in-person school. And I can tell you the desks that I talked about last year have been very appreciated. It's helped a lot on working with our school-age children. We've had between 12 and 18 children every day in these past 2 weeks, every day, because of school being out. And so I think you have in front of you probably what we've asked for. We've asked for $8,848, yearly contracts from Johnson Control to monitor, inspect fire monitoring, the sprinkler suppression exhaustion system. It's something that by code we and our licensing law has to be done. And then we also ask for the amount for the town of Madison real estate taxes and the amount for the county of Madison real estate taxes. So these requests were made because they're consistent yearly amounts that we have to pay for every year, rather than asking for something that didn't have a consistent dollar amount on it, like tuition assistance. So that's what we're asking for this year. I appreciate all the support the Madison Board of Supervisors have given us and would greatly appreciate if you would like to give us some more questions. I'd be glad to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself on this because I'm the treasurer of the board of Madison Learning Center.
We just don't need you today.
So this is it for me, I think.
Who's next, Cardi? Are you on?
You're a non-for-profit.
Yes, sir, we are. We have been a nonprofit since we opened in August of 2014 when we were part of MESA. And then we acquired our own nonprofit status on December 2nd, 2019.
I guess my question is, I mean, the board of supervisors years ago gave y'all, what, 15K? I think it was?
Through the CARES Act, yes.
No, through the county?
No, no, sir, we did not
That is
get,
incorrect. Ms.
we did not get anything the last time I was here.
No.
No, we gave-
When you opened.
Yeah. Oh, when we opened, I'm sorry, in 2014, yes, I think it was 12,
12.
yes, it was 12.
The question is, I mean, is sustainability and is whether or not this is gonna be a reoccurring ask. Or do you plan on this being a reoccurring ask, or is this more of a bump up like a catalyst subsidy?
I guess I'd have to say, I'm not real certain I understand when coming here each year is supposed to be a year to ask, a yearly thing to do? Or are you looking for just a one-time ask for funds? I really do not understand how this works.
No, well, different organizations ask for funding from the board, and some are annual ask, most are annual ask. There's other ones that are one-time deals. The question's always been is whether or not sustainability is something. We know there's a need in Madison for your services. The question is whether or not to subsidize it. Not just a question. But it sounds like this is going to be probably an annual ask. All right.
Well, I wish it wouldn't have to be an annual ask. I wish childcare would be something that we could make enough money off of, that we didn't have to ask annually, but we are not part of a big corporation. We are not part of Learning Tree or Kids Hut or KinderCare. We are on our own, and I don't have to explain to you all what the average income is of Madison, and we cannot charge what they do in Charlottesville or Prince William County. So we operate on a very small budget, and I would like to feel that I could come back and the board would support what we do. Some kind of,
You know, my issue with it is that it is a private group. And it's the same thing as if some of these, there are caretakers in Madison that are certified by the state to keep children. And they have anywhere from maybe 6 to 10 children, depending on what they're allowed to have. We don't fund them anything. And what are we going to do if they start coming and asking for requests? That's my concern.
I don't know how to answer that except to say we are a nonprofit organization. And our goal is to.
Y'all are working with new partners though currently. Didn't you all do kind of a swing on your board or structure or something recently where you kind of want that a little bit differently? Skyline Cap came in and.
No, we.
Same deal, y'all.
We've always had, we were a part of Mesa when we opened. Mesa asked us to no longer partner with them, so we went through the process of getting our own 501c3. In that process, we got our own EIN number, we're our own nonprofit. Culpeper Wellness Foundation, who at that time owned the building, deeded us the building.
All paid what dollar for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we have the responsibility of the building as well as all the children we're taking care of.
And right now, we know you're under tremendous restrictions when it pertains to COVID. How many kids do you have right now?
We are, sorry, I didn't write that one down. I think we are at about 45 to 50. We're about 30% less than we would be if we were not under these restrictions. But we are with the same amount of staff and the same number of staffing hours as though we had 90 children because of the restrictions.
And without restrictions, you would be up at what, like, what would be your capacity?
90, 95. We're licensed for 110, but that puts us pretty cozy.
Cindy McCloskey said, I just wrote the number 55.
55, that's the executive director of the Learning Center. So
55.
she answered, we have 55 right now.
All right. Is your total operating budget in here?
I think it is. I think I saw it. I think it is.
Profit and loss, January through December 2020.
All right. Okay. All right, anybody else have questions, Ms. Lacy?
No, this isn't something Ms. Lacy can respond to, but it's stating the obvious, but so it isn't able to be sustaining on its own because the income of the people, too many of the people in Madison County can't afford to pay the costs that they would have to charge. I'm stating the obvious, in order to be even maintain, much less profit. So our job as the county is shake that money out of somebody else. People apparently who can, which aren't the people who have these kids. And it kicks up from there to the state, and they got to shake money out of people in Northern Virginia and Richmond and, that the areas of the state that have money. We're not one of those. And then it kicks up to the federal. I'm going to sound like Bill Campbell here in a minute, but that is all true. And gosh, it would be great to not have to depend first on us and then on the state and then on the federal government. I don't have an answer for that other than be nice if we could do something to help people, make more money. Young people who have children make more money.
The comment that Amber always makes that you can't afford. Which brings up other questions, but now I'm looking at your budget. And you're negative $45,000. We know that fundraising was down tremendously this last year for everybody. But I mean, being down 45K on a 500K budget, y'all are making plans to figure that out. I assume.
We raised tuition that went into effect the 2nd of January.
Right.
When the COVID restrictions come off, that should help us tremendously without getting in the details of mixing children, et cetera. On paper, it looks feasible. But it is a very difficult business to make ends meet. It is a different business than in-home childcare. Our regulations are different. Our inspections are different. You're not paying the kind of money we are to maintain a building when you're in home care.
Anybody
So,
else have questions, Ms. Lacy? All right, thank you, Ms. Lacy.
all right, thank you.
Patrick, good to see you. Come on up. Rapidan Regional Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today. First off, I want to thank Mr. Hobbs and Mrs. Hoffman for their service on our board on behalf of Madison County. It's been a challenging year for everyone, I realize that, and I think for us, the challenge has mostly been in terms of not being able to engage with our board members. Our boardroom is not large enough to be able to have our 21 members in the boardroom, so appreciate the opportunity to be out in front of you, as it's not something we've done as much as we have in past years. Just to kind of give you a recap and an overview, the Regional Commission serves the 5 counties: Madison, Culpeper, Fauquier, Orange, and Rappahannock, as well as each of the towns within those counties are all member jurisdictions as well. So when we make a request based on our per capita dues rate, the request to Madison County does not include the population within the town, just to make that clarification. Our focus areas remain what they've been for the past several years: transportation, housing, environmental, agriculture and natural resources, tourism and economic development, as well as technical assistance. Those first 4 that I mentioned, transportation, housing, environmental, natural resources, and tourism economic development, we primarily work at the regional scale. So we primarily work with partners throughout the region, some of which share our same 5 county boundaries, some of which are doing work predominantly in individual counties or individual towns. On the transportation side, over the past year, had several conversations with Mr. Hobbs about some of the technical assistance that we've provided and really just sort of sorting through some of the issues with VDOT, with the Privilegeville bridges. We assisted planning staff with smart scale applications for the roundabout project at Pratt's, which hopefully will be funded, if not this year, then in the future. And have also worked with the county on reviewing the comp plan for the transportation section as part of that work by the Planning Commission. Housing, over the past year, we've endeavored to complete a regional housing study, and this was driven primarily by requests from localities such as Madison, but also the other 8 towns and 4 counties, really trying to get a sense of whether, anecdotal evidence of housing being an issue, and is there an affordable housing issue? Is there an issue of not having enough housing? I think there was anecdotal evidence of that, and so one of the things that we were charged with was, can we get some numbers behind that? Can we produce something that documents what we sort of hear in meetings or in some of the work that we do? And that project is wrapping up as we speak. We have a lot of information out on our website right now, but what we sort of found is just to provide some data back to the localities to be able to make educated decisions as you have land use questions come up in front of you, especially as they do relate to housing. I will say that the impacts and the issues that are seen in Fauquier County or Culpeper County or some of our towns in the region, we recognize are not the same as those faced in Madison. And I think what we've tried to do with that study is produce something that gives not only the regional level and the regional scale data, but also a focus on each individual locality. So there is a 10 to 12 page summary document for Madison County, which really does focus on some of the pertinent issues to Madison that may not be present in other parts of the region. We also recognize that just doing a study is fine, but there's a lot of work to be done after that, and we look forward to being a partner with the county as we're enabled going forward with looking at housing as an issue in the region. On the environmental and agriculture side, our predominant work over the past couple of years has been with the Department of Environmental Quality on Chesapeake Bay Watershed Implementation Program, so-called Phase 3. That's meeting requirements that the federal government sets down for 2025 in terms of reducing pollutants in streams in the region. And as we've got a long history of working in partnership with several organizations, one of which is the Soil and Water Conservation District in the region, what we've really tried to do with that process is identify where's the best bang for our buck in terms of implementing some of these best management practices, while also respecting the need in this region that those implementation projects be voluntarily driven by farmers and landowners. So that's something that we continue to work on. We've got a couple of projects, not so much in Madison County, but one that's upcoming in Fauquier County and Warrenton to do some BMP projects at schools. So we partner with Friends of the Rappahannock and the county and town up there to do some demonstration projects there that maybe something that's replicable in the future in other parts of the region. And on tourism economic development, I will say, I think everyone's generally aware that tourism has been taking a big hit this past year. Our role with that has predominantly been to provide some value-added promotion to the work that each of the counties does in the region. So we have the Twin Rivers Trail, which is a network of agro-artisan producers in the region that are kind of do some joint marketing, and we do some promotions there. Those have predominantly been put on hold for the past year, but we're looking forward to the opportunity to look at opportunities as we're able to reopen the region once the vaccine rollout is complete. And the last thing I would say from the regional commission standpoint is just the technical assistance we provide. I just jotted a couple down that, as I was thinking about coming to speak with you today. We provided some mapping assistance on not only transportation, but also some economic development discussions that we've had. We've had a lot of discussions and also a lot of participation with broadband, doing some mapping for potential broadband applications in the region. Again, with county economic development staff and some of the private sector partners that are here in Madison. And then lastly, I would say that the Planning Commission in Madison has been real good about reaching out to us and looking at, can we get a data update on some of the indicators? I gave a presentation to them probably a year or a year and a half ago. And I know they reached out again late in 2020 just to get some updated data. Not something that we always hear from all of our Planning Commission partners in the region, but we do enjoy when they do reach out and that we can provide some of the demographic data that we're able to collect. We'll be looking at how the 2020 census data impacts that based on some of the past trends coming into the current year. So that's sort of my spiel on what we're doing. Again, I'd like to be more present with you all during the year, but hasn't been as possible this year, but certainly look forward to getting back to that, make it more of a routine moving forward. Happy to answer any questions.
You don't do any of the actual transporting people, do you, Patrick?
No, our role with transportation now, the Foothills Express previously was one that the money ran through our office, but we contracted that out. And then we also do quite a bit of coordination. We're moving into coordinating a lot more on volunteer transportation that Community Services Board operates, as well as some nonprofit providers, more so in the northern part of the region, but we looked at other partners in the southern part to try to get that coordinated better. That's something we're working on over the next year or two.
Oh man, I've been real impressed with what Patrick brought to the table for the last, I feel like I've really seen it in the last maybe 3 years. Just a wealth of information, tremendous. Great. I was going to ask about our initiatives moving forward with broadband implementation and what you can bring to the table on that. Sounds like you're doing some planning on it already.
Yeah, and Mr. Hobbs and I have talked about broadband quite a bit, and as well as with some of his counterparts at the other counties in the region. And I think, we've sort of gotten to this point in the region where you've had, Orange County, frankly, has made massive investments and going their way. The other, 4 counties are sort of in this holding pattern of, we want to be a partner, we want to be a catalyst, and I don't think we've seen that yet. Certainly one thing I have offered is if there's opportunities to pull together those other counties, especially with partners, and not to put them on the spot, but the electric cooperative potentially being a long-term partner, I think makes a lot of sense. I think our role is again, kind of providing that information, but again, as you all and as Mr. Hobbs kind of say, we're ready to jump in as you need us.
Probably take you up on that. The other one I did want to ask, and I apologize for kind of forgetting that y'all are out of the Foothills business. But we know that transportation pertaining to COVID and getting some of our senior people to vaccination sites, do y'all have any kind of mechanism to facilitate such a thing?
So what I would say, one thing that I would plug is the Foothills Area Mobility System. We operate under contract with Community Services Board. We have a call center where people can call in and get information and referral services. If that is something that we start to see a huge increase in, I need transportation to a vaccine site, or it would be great because we generally coordinate volunteer transportation through that. If that's something where we can start to identify that need and especially be able to put some numbers to it, then we can generate resources for that. Right now, if someone called in today, the best we could probably do is say we might have a volunteer that could give you a potential source. But I think that's something, that data is something that would be helpful in terms of making that case.
What's that question?
Well, I just want to know, so Patrick, the Planning Commission in Madison presented the board with a memorandum on broadband with a bunch of statistics and a roadmap of how to get started, whatnot. Have you seen that?
I have.
You have, okay, all right. Just wondering, if you'd seen it, read through it, and would be able to have an idea of what we're getting ready to initiate.
Yeah, and if I could, I think that the decision points, and this is something that's been brought up before in pretty much every county in our region, but you get to a point where we've got data that shows there's a need. We've got data that shows generally the public is wanting better broadband, more affordable broadband, higher speeds. And I think really that is something that the last process that was gone through with CIT staff that Madison did, Rappahannock also did a process with them. You get to that point where you've gotten the data, and then it's what next? And I think that's really where we've seen several of our counties in the region are standing. And, it's not an easy decision to say, well, here's the money to go do what's next. It's about finding those partners. So
who sent you that memo?
I think I saw it on the county website for
Oh,
the
okay.
board meeting.
Or that just want to see if planning commission is, we don't want to forget they're there.
Not really, not really, not really. Anybody else have questions, Patrick? Patrick, I see that you've also got Foothills Housing Network.
Yes, sir, and I generally keep those separate just because it is a separate request.
Yes.
Um,
I figured, is he scheduled for some other time off? I figured while he's here.
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm happy to come back if it's better.
No, there's two programs.
Yeah.
Housing Corp, and then there's Housing Network. You're next on the list.
They do everything.
It's down on the page. It's down past it, it's like 940 something. Y'all mind if Patrick goes in and shoots that one real quick?
Nope.
Please.
Okay. So Foothills Housing Network is the regional continuum of care responding to homelessness and near homelessness in the region. The regional commission took on the responsibility of being the lead agency in about 2013, 2014. And that was in response to federal programs changing, whereas previously federal dollars could flow straight to shelters and also to emergency housing providers. At that time, we had a shelter in Orange, a shelter in Culpeper, and a shelter in Fauquier County in Warrenton. And because of those changes, the shelter in Orange closed, and we saw that the federal and state government said you have to have a regional approach to this. So it's been 7 or 8 years of us sort of building up this regional partnership, and the money that we request to support that position offsets the cost of our single position that staffs that Foothills Housing Network. As you see on one of the documents provided with that, kind of gives a breakdown of the grants for FY 2021 that Foothills Housing Network, I don't want to say receives, but that flow into the region on behalf of Foothills Housing Network. The commission really receives we receive about $84,000 out of those 660 in grants, and that is for about 30,000 of the position cost for this coordinator position, which is probably a full-time and a half position that I've got one person in, as well as coordinating a call center for people that are in emergency housing situations. So what I would say is that role is something where we're providing the mandated support, but the benefits frankly roll out to the partners in the region, the emergency shelters, as well as the citizens through other partners such as Culpeper Housing and Shelter Services, People Incorporated, and others in the region. So it's not an easy position to describe, but it's really one where we're in a role that serves everybody in the region rather than having each individual county do it themselves.
Questions on this one?
No.
Patrick, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, Humanity Community College.
Now, I'm gonna ask,
Yes, go ahead, Patty.
you're referring to something that's got the whole, apparently things I haven't found yet. And Cardi hasn't either.
Which one?
All of them we've done so far. I
Yeah,
haven't seen any of them yet.
here on our file.
There's a big PDF.
Yeah, there's a big one, and then I'm working off of the agenda.
Yeah.
And you've got the page number behind the side,
Oh, is that what that
and
is?
that's what I'm working off of.
And it's the page number in this big PDF
Yeah,
file?
everybody see where he's highlighting, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, all right,
And just put it in the big PDF.
all right. Thank you.
Is that on the website?
No, it's on Zip Drive. I don't know where else.
I don't have access. I'm going through shared drives. I would really appreciate it.
You've got a PDF of this?
I could get
It's on the main, 04 FY22 budget request compiled as of 20, what is it?
Okay,
210116.
got it.
And then if you just type in the page number that Jack has listed along the side of the thing, it'll take you straight to it.
Mhm.
Bear with me a second, I want to rather than do one of these things. There. Good.
Cardi, thank you for telling me that. I thought I was all right. I figured it out. I cracked the code.
Well, I had to recuse myself for two of them. It's like, okay, never mind.
No, very clear
All
about
right.
Big
This is the confidence I have in you folks. Y'all are sharper than I am normally, and I'm normally the one trying to figure out how to make this work. All right, we got, everybody good now? We got Germanna Community College, Janet Gullickson. I don't see Janet. Is she on the Vimeo?
Mr. Davis.
Mr. Davis, are you gonna represent Germanna? Hold on one second. Turn it way up. Or you want me to do it?
I got it.
All right.
Can you hear? Can we hear?
Got it, Mr. Davis. Please tell us about Germanna. The 24,000, is this a reoccurring ask? I think I saw something earlier that was talking about it being a reoccurring ask. Is that correct, Mr. Davis?
Which other localities did you ask, and which one's funded? Which other localities did you ask, and which of them funded your full request? All right. Okay. Other questions for Mr. Davis?
I at least remember this is the second, if not the third year that they've made that request. And I always have this, when we're talking with Germana, and this may not be, I guess this is a question for Mr. Davis, especially with respect to the career coach. Do you pursue support out of our school system as well as us? Or do you come straight to the school, or to us, or do you only come to the board? I'm sure there's a policy that you guys have about pursuing support through school boards versus board supervisors. And that's with every school system or every county that you guys are dealing with? I guess it just always strikes me as a little weird. This is education. It's career and technical education. If you think about it, I'm gonna philosophize again. Sorry. This is exactly where somebody needs to make an investment in order for people to be able in a position to make the money that can afford to pay sustainable fees for early childhood education. There's a chicken and egg thing here, and in my mind, it's not clear whether it's the county, whether it's the state, who needs to ante up and cover things at what level. I know for your information, Mr. Davis, I know I wrote a bunch of checks to Madison County High School, I think, for programs that you all help support, dual enrollment type things I think I wrote them to the high school. So there must be some arrangement with I thought it was Germana.
Okay. Other questions?
So can I ask, what's your total request minus the support for the career coach?
It's
Yeah, how much?
25
Yeah, okay.
plus.
4535.
Is it 24 for the?
Nah, career coaches,
Okay.
25K.
Okay, that's where the 24.
All right. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Davis?
Nope.
Mr. Davis, thank you. Mr. Wilchins. Yeah. Public Patrol and Water. Tell us things. This is on page 1171.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. Glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. Also appreciate the opportunity or the support we get from Madison every year, supporting district operations. And I trust y'all received the update on our request for next year. Apologize for an error on my part on the initial calculations. Activity at the district is, you may know, is at an all-time high for many reasons and on many different fronts. Ag conservation programs this past year, which ended in June, saw a tripling of our normal activity due to robust funding from Richmond, which is primarily driven by budget surpluses on June 30th, but not always. But that is the big boat in the harbor, so to speak. This year, the current year we're in, is roughly double our normal rate. And right now, the way the state budget looks is that's going to continue for next year. It's going to be roughly double the normal rate of work that we do. Last year, we had 1.5 million, which is our normal year. We did that just in Madison County, in ag, BMPs, best management practices. We added a staff member for that workload, all on state funds. Our 3-year NOAA education grant continues, and we provide professional development programs for Madison teachers, in classroom and virtual programs for students and teachers, and we have tooled up to provide additional virtual support during these current times. Our septic cost share programs continue to be at a real high level, particularly here in Madison, but also elsewhere. They are all supported by additional grants we author and receive. Those grants also bring in additional ag funding and staff support funds. We have 2 new grants that will commence this coming fall, both of which impact Madison County related to the TMDL projects that the state is interested in. We've recently received several other grants, one of which is working with VDOT on a couple road projects, sites to be yet determined, designing and implementing road BMPs with VDOT. We authored a small manual on that this past year, won an award with it, and VDOT showed some interest. I guess they have a transportation improvement fund, something like that, the people that run that part of VDOT are quite interested in looking at this. We're excited about that, particularly my engineer is. There's also an additional education grant coming as of July 1 that involves Wetzel School. And this year on my desk is very significant infrastructure updates to our flood control dams in Madison County. They're 50 to 60 years old. They were the only dams of 104 dams owned by conservation districts. They were constructed with CMP primary spillways going through the dam. And it's a long story, but we had them engineer inspected and videoed and everything, and we've gotten the funding out of Richmond to put slip lining inside of those. So it's a big project coming our way here in Madison. And so we got a lot going on. We continue to seek out additional grants as time allows and opportunity allows. And I'll stop there and answer any questions anybody might have on our submission.
What is your actual ask? Just to make sure that we are.
Correct. Our actual ask, the amended version was 29.8 something. I've got it right here, 29.889.
We're moving in the right direction. 29.
889.
Was your funding last year? Is that in here?
29.3, I think it is. I've got it.
29,320.
Do it again.
Current year is 29,320.
All right.
I might add that, I'm not sure how much you're aware of what goes on in Richmond and with the Bay Bill, as it's called, and the Watershed Implementation Plan, Roman numeral 3, and all of that. But there's all kinds of stuff coming out of Richmond. Some with funding, some with not. Some good ideas, some not. It's just, it's a kind of like walking on ball bearings sometimes with it all. That's where we're at these days, and probably going to stay like that at least till 2025 or so. We'll see what all that looks like down the road a little ways.
You guys, questions? Great. Anybody? Getting a lot of work out of Dundee?
Yeah. He's valuable. He knows everybody. He's got a good swagger about it all, and he's sort of like a quote Johnny Appleseed of it all. he kind of gets around and reminds people. And this past year, ending in June, that whole year saw major changes to the main big cost share program. They finally started paying what we call rent on land that's taken out of production, the buffers, et cetera, et cetera. We told them for years, I said, you want to move this thing, you got to make it market competitive. So they finally did do that, and it moved a lot. It moved a real lot. So we're happy to see that.
Other questions? Thank you, Greg.
All right, appreciate it.
I assume Scott Daniels joined us on the GoToMeeting platform for Madison County Fair. That's page 734. Mr. Daniels, can you hear us? Yes, sir. Sure. Yeah, we're good. Tell us about what you're asking for and why and all the fun stuff. Who has questions? Who has questions, for Scott on the fair? Anybody?
No, pretty reasonable request, I would say, for what we get.
Did we do 1,000 last year? I thought we did 500 for the fair. What?
They asked for 1,000, you gave them.
There you go. All right. Well, hopefully the fair will come back in full force this year. We all can hope. Thank you, Scott. This delay is a lot of fun.
Which delay?
The one on the GoToMeeting. Just the nature of the beast, Livingston?
I didn't notice there was a delay. What are you hearing on delay?
No, there's nothing. No. Let's try Virginia Regional Transit. Bill Thompson. Is Bill with us on one of the platforms?
See one.
We are. Can you tell who's on the Vimeo deal?
I can't tell who, but there's only 2 people watching on Vimeo right now. One of them was Janet Gullickson, She's from Germana.
Yeah, we did her.
Mm-hmm.
What about, who's the other one?
Can't tell, unless they speak up.
If you're on the Vimeo or the GoToMeeting, and Miss Hurst is here on the GoToMeeting. Miss Hurst, would you like to talk about the Foothills Child Advocacy Center? I know we're ahead of schedule.
Go.
Hello, Miss Hurst. Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Tell us about Foothills Child Advocacy Center, please. Who has questions for Ms. Hurst?
Yeah, I've got one. Ms. Hurst, so do you all provide some case management too, to follow up with these children? Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Hurst? Ms. Hurst, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. All right, I think we're out of people. Hey, anybody got one to Vimeo? Around this point.
We're ahead, Mike, pause and put it in.
There you go. Budget supplements, we got them attached on the back.
Can I say one thing before you start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, good.
Item G, public safety tower rent,
Yes, ma'am.
that number is $8,800, not $45,600.
8,800.
Seems significant.
That's for what is you currently have executed agreements for. It doesn't make sense to put it in before you have them. Well, some of these numbers are grossed up for transfers. Like H is really, that's not 150, that's twice the amount. I didn't ask for another 150.
Whoops. So anywhere that it says transfer, we'll probably divide that by 2, right? That
Well,
pretty much.
I mean, some of these have, like, for example, on R, the victim witness budget grant, that's just a reallocation between line items. It's not an additional expenditure. So some of these are just, they're not actual extra dollars.
I mean, all the grants are that way, right? The grants are.
So, yeah, 37, 38, 39, 40, that's just offset, and 36, they're all just taking, they're taking revenue and offsetting against expense. We're moving expenditure line items within a budget. And same with, on the Commonwealth Attorney on 33, so Clarissa wanted $20,000. She had a $20,000 appropriation, and her actual contract was a little bit more. So she took money out of her operating budget and transferred it into the capital projects fund. No change in net expenditures at all on that one. It's just moving money around.
All right, other questions on these supplements? We have supplements A through B.
I just have one other thing.
Just
So on 36, so when you appropriate money to the schools, you have to do it by functional category. I think that's by law. It has to be like by instruction, by admin and everything. And at the time that Tina provided this to me, she hadn't figured that out yet. So we agreed that we would do it all to instruction, and she would follow up with a reallocation between categories later on.
which will
It doesn't,
necessitate another supplemental.
yeah, you have to change,
Jeez.
so the school board is not allowed to exceed any one of those functional allocation line items without an additional appropriation by the board. So if they want to move money from one line item to another, it takes board of supervisor action to do that.
So just as an example, supplemental 21-22 for Tilly.
Yeah.
Given that your budget, I've heard you say, huh?
I have all these savings.
Yes.
Well,
So
we have to
why?
do that. I mean, it is true, you could take it out of there, but when we hire the other person, it's all gonna come out of it anyway. We're gonna have to put more, it's gonna be a net number anyway. We're gonna have to put more money into that budget. So you can either put it in now and then back it out later, or do it all one time, I don't really care. But, I'm not putting in any extra money beyond.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
And I also
When
want to
it's
say that
necessary,
that was,
or not.
that was a legitimate increase. And my current understanding is that the savings we have in our budget, we can use towards extra help if we need it. So I don't really want to penalize myself on that because, I'm unsure when the new accounting manager will start, and what is going to come, what work I'm going to have to do in between then, particularly related to anything related to the budget. I just want to have a little bit of flexibility in there.
All right, I go, maybe one more question. So 21-26, dispatcher bonuses. Now, so that is coming out of our fund balance probably, right?
No, it's coming out of contingency.
I thought we were out of
It is.
contingency money.
Right. We're not out, we still have $25,000 left in contingency right now. There will be some more supplements. I'm already past my deadline for next Tuesday's meeting, so maybe I can get them to you for next Thursday, but that will draw down that $25,000 even further. But no, right now that came out of contingency, and some of it came from the comp board.
All right, other questions? Yes, sir.
One quick one, I'm just curious, the leave payouts of $54,000,
Yeah.
that's a lot of folks that have, just been paid?
Extremely high for 6 months.
Okay, it strikes me as that, but I didn't,
Yeah, so normally, like last year, our contingency balance for accumulate, because we budget that separately. Last year, so for FY19, no, FY20, our contingency balance for accumulated leave was 40. We can normally make up some contingency balance with the vacancy. I didn't do that just because it's too hard to have that amount in the middle of the year. I think we should just cover it and see where we are at the end of the year. We can move stuff around if we need to. It's just I don't have a simple way of doing that.
So we had a lot of people leave our employ.
We had some big payouts, some in the share. I think the biggest one was in the tax department.
That's right, EMS, we lost a few, right?
There has been a significant amount of turnover in EMS. And I just want to,
Because of the switching department.
Not big, but that was.
there's been a significant amount of turnover in EMS, and that is starting to impact my department because it takes resources from HR. It takes resources related to cell phones. It takes resources related to managing all the fleet cards. It's been unbelievable, the activity in the last 2 months. So there's a cost. When you have that kind of turnover in a department, it starts impacting your finance department.
So our leave policy caps the number of hours at whatever, was it 240 or something?
So
Something
you
like
can
that.
accrue more than that, but you can't get it paid out.
Right,
But
but
actually,
when do
what
you,
happens in reality is that if they're not leaving, if they're planning on retiring, what they usually do is try to burn down that balance so they don't lose out on their
I
hours.
understand, but when do you get reset? Or so I'm at 260 at December 31st or June 30th, and you would cut me back to 240.
It's as of June 30th.
Okay, so as of June 30th, you look at everybody's balances, and if they're still over 240, you cut them back to 240.
No, we don't cut them back. So no, they're allowed to carry, isn't it up to 600? 500 or 600. We allow them to carry up to a certain amount. It's only when they leave that they get that cap. Does that make sense?
Say that, Bob.
The accrual is 640 with the older employees, we set on June 30. 240 gets paid out whenever you replace
The max, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't cut it down. We don't, on a carry forward basis, we only cut it down to whatever that cap was, 640 or whatever it is. We don't cut it down to the 240 until they leave. So what I'm trying to say is most people that are above that 240, if they're thinking about leaving, they use up that excess before they leave, if that makes sense. Because they won't get it paid to them. So they just take the time off.
4 months.
I recall that this personal policy change,
Mhm.
that 640 is grandfathered for older employees.
Yeah.
But at a certain date,
Right.
you can get it to 240.
Okay.
Try to get that.
Other questions for MJ or Hobbs? Anybody? Chuck or Livingston, if there are questions, let me ask that too. We do have supplements A to B.
Well, I got if we're gonna do them all at one time, I need for you to pull G out, the public safety tower rent. I assume that's, I don't know for sure, but I assume that's,
Want to make a motion to that?
I'm not sure that involves your site. This is,
all right.
this the beautiful one site?
Oh, it is? Is that what it is, the beautiful run
The
site?
only number I have is $8,800. Unfortunately, the problem is first of all, I don't know what the difference is, but you don't have enough money. You would have to tell me where to take the difference out.
Well,
Because you don't have enough money in contingency to pay for it. So, I mean, I don't know what, I would, if somebody wants to change my
no, we're
proposed.
not saying the number, we're saying.
I
He has a relative that we are about to rent a
Oh.
site.
tower to.
Why don't we just be.
I'll just pull it out, yeah.
Make the
Yeah.
motion and then we can go from there.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we pull supplemental 2127 for the public safety tower rent out of the list so I can recuse myself.
Second? Is that it?
You recommend approval for the other ones?
Oh, yes, and I recommend approval of the remaining,
Everything with A through B minus G.
right.
Is that right?
Right.
Second.
There, hot dogs. Motion made second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right. What about letter G?
Chairman, I move to approve supplement 2127.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And
Mr. Yao
abstains, yes.
So, all right. Listen, have we gained anybody? Haven't gained a damn person.
We just, Cynthia Hurt just left.
Yeah, Scott Daniel's still watching us, I could understand. Right away from you, Scott. What about Vimeo? You got a whole slew of people there?
2 people watching now, 7 total views.
Good. All right, Hobbs, let's talk about FY budget issues, board goals and priorities.
Yes. For the last meeting, I had a conversation with Supervisor Yao yesterday about this, and I think we're pretty much set on the list that I'd been drawn up. That was pretty straightforward. There were some issues with carrying forward goals that have not been met from the prior year. this business about human resources support and things like that. So we'll work on that a little bit for the meeting next week if we can get around to it with everything else that's going on right now. We do still need the records management system and all that, so we'll keep that on the list. We talked about this business about childcare or pre-K and what to do about that, and I suppose it's a matter of planning at this point or coordination. So the idea is to develop some sort of task force that would maybe look at that and determine what the county could do. We seem to have different groups that look at this population of kids that are pre-K, whether it's daycare or Head Start or childcare or whatever, Boys and Girls Club. There's this series of programs that attempt to get at that group, but there seems to be a need to do something with those folks who do better. And so maybe the board's role might be to convene a group or a task force or get the right people in the room to see where there could be some shared resources or something like that. So that's the concept on that. Mr. Yao and I.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, whether, we should convene a task force from this group or whether we get somebody like Skyline who has good relationships with the schools because of Head Start and with Boys and Girls Club, who else? And with the Learning Center up there. So I don't know, what do y'all think? I mean, I could, it is an issue in Madison, and we've got so many stakeholders and we've got funding coming in from different places. Head Start through Skyline brings in about $275,000 of federal money to the county. Who's got what monies? How can we pool these monies together and serve the most kids possible? So, but I just,
You're looking to enhance the capacity of children being, of the need being met.
right.
Are you there has to be a limit where the government funds when it pertains to child care, because we're already funding public education.
Yes.
And now we're talking about, and she might well ask for sure. We just had Ms. Lacy here to present. We're talking about tacking on additional funds to that 0 to 18 age bracket. There has to be some type of stopping point on that.
Yeah, I'm not advocating at all that the county fund any of this stuff.
But we already are in terms of funding the schools.
Well, yeah, sure.
Boys and Girls
Additionally, then.
So is there a way to do that better, I think is the
Right.
That, yes, let's do that. Y'all want to be involved in this, or you want to put stakeholders in on this? Ms. Hoffman looks like she wants to be involved.
I could.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Simon's got some great ideas. Nan, Anna Graham's got, there's a bunch of people with a lot of good ideas. I just need
Just don't have the money.
Are you looking for, what about if you and Ms. Hoffman start putting together a group and see if you can get something going? I mean,
All right.
you named some pretty excellent type people.
Yeah.
Nan, Anna Graham, and Simon always.
And
very
Francis,
impressive.
of course, yeah.
One of the problems with Boys and Girls Club is they don't take preschool.
Yeah, see, that's an issue too.
They may start with kindergarten age. I'm not really sure about that,
Yeah,
but
I
I know
think
they
you're
don't do
right.
the younger than that.
So put together a task force. It's
All
not
right.
an idea. If you can do it without, if you can get better services with the funds that already exist locally, and with the potential to gain more funds from outside the community, that'd be
Mhm.
exactly what we're looking for. I think everybody.
In this task force, we always also, it looks like Head Start might come under the Department of Education instead of Social Services. So that could change a lot of stuff. So there's issues that we don't need to be sitting here talking about today, but
Does that help with task? Y'all game on working together on this?
yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Well, I guess where I am though is this is a priority list. And I suppose if it's on a priority list, we could ask, use a platform for asking for reports periodically. That makes sense. Or you might not feel like it belongs on the priority list. That's a conversation.
Keeps coming up.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I mean, it is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, but I think Francis just said they had raised their rates again. I mean, you just have priced people out of.
I am very, very concerned about that organization.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
just lazy to tell you tremendous job. I'm so concerned about putting money towards them.
You know, they have a lot of course, Medicaid that don't, see, they don't have to pay as much as the others, so that takes
Right.
a lot of money away.
She's done such a good job, and we continually hear that there is a need. Y'all can work something out and figure it out, put it on the priority list, and let's see if we can get something done.
All right.
Sure.
So the other thing that was talked about last week was this idea of doing something more different with career and technical education. But I'm not sure how to articulate that. I think Mr. Yao indicates that maybe that's a school initiative and we should maybe not get into that this year.
I think that's more of a need than childcare, frankly.
Yeah, that's a big
These
one.
kids really.
It absolutely is. It goes back to the same thing as we're double dipping, where we're funding the education sector and putting money towards the schools, which is putting money towards CTE. And then if we get involved in it, we're gonna start dumping money into CTE. I think everybody on this board at least understands that there has to be a relationship between the private and public sector to facilitate CTE in a productive way. Is it, y'all want to put it on the priority list or not? Or do you want to leave it to the schools?
Well, I think it ought to be a school.
Yeah.
I think it ought to be.
Yeah,
a
let's
school
leave it to this. I'd say
project.
leave it to this. I don't know, what do you think, Kevin?
Yeah. Well,
Well, Culpeper's finished. I mean, they're into theirs now. I mean, that'd be great.
I mean, think about listening to Sean Gregg the other day speak about CTE and that one gentleman from Culpeper that had a big machine shop and invested just tremendous funds into a CTE program. That's the private. I mean, every community out there is looking for the exact same thing. Like our community does it in small ways, but
Nothing like that.
no, that's crazy. Great. We'll put it on priority list. We'll leave it to the school.
They leave it to
leave it to the schools.
Let's just see if they come back, thinking better, we can talk about it again next week.
Yeah. All right.
Well, my scheme is to, I did run out of gas. I was going to try to do more on this before this meeting, but things happened. So we'll work on having something in front of you next week, a little more written up, if you will. The next thing I have is this business about cigarette tax. And to my knowledge, I might have talked to several of you about it, but the legislature just last year gave authority to the counties to impose a cigarette tax. We're not talking about a lot of money. I've got some preliminary math that it's suspect because there's no good way to estimate this. I know nobody wants to impose a new tax, but this would give some relief to the real estate tax is I think the issue for Madison County. Set in on some seminars with Brian Daniel and Stephanie Murray, and in Charlottesville, they have this math that says that in their city, every penny of cigarette tax generates 24 cents of revenue per capita. So if you go with 24 cents by the maximum rate, 40 cents, that seems to be the common discussion point right now, about 13,000 people, we're talking about $125,000. Now that is obviously a high estimate because we don't have folks coming across the Potomac River to buy cigarettes to transport into Maryland or a Walmart or something that's a big driver of cigarettes. So the Charlottesville figure would be fairly high. It's also probably a declining revenue stream unless you keep raising the rate. Fewer people smoking, and that's the expectation over time is fewer people going to smoke. Question is should we be developing this for adoption in the near future such that the county would have another tax that might help supplant some of the real estate tax burden? No decision has to be made today, but just want to make sure that y'all heard about it and it's still in the wind.
I would say, so does it cover tobacco products or just cigarettes?
I'm not clear on that. I think it's mostly cigarettes, but I might be wrong.
All right, whatever. Oh, yeah.
So for everybody except the board
I mean, why would you?
We're going to lose business to the folks on Shelby Road, I'm sure. We can have that conversation later. Another element of this is we do have this tax. There's implementing it. There's buying rolls and stamps, working with vendors and all this. The model is to get connected with one of these regional groups that provide the cigarette wholesalers and the county so that they're the ones putting the stamps on and dealing with all that. It's, I forget what it is, 5 or 7% of the net revenue, but they take care of enforcement and all that. And so the effect is the county has an ordinance, the county receives one check from these folks. And so it's administratively, it's very, very streamlined at that point. So we probably want to talk about going down that path. Some of these groups have not been set up yet, so this is very much in the formation. Seeing some nods, we'll work along on schedule on developing a cigarette tax. Understanding that there has to be an ordinance, some hearings, some effective dates, more study on revenue potential, all that. Okay.
Wonder if it'll apply to marijuana.
I think the state might be wanting to keep all that to itself.
Just a question.
Well, we've gained some people. Let's go back to the budget hearing. We can jump back. All right. Let's go to, either y'all, Phil Thompson. Phil, come on up and talk to us.
Thank you for coming and thanks for being here. And Virginia Regional Transit, page 922.
Thank you all for having me. I've got packets. I don't know if you all are fine with.
Yeah.
So we presented last year. Thank you for having us. I've got Mr. Mike Soha with us. He is the Culpeper Regional Manager for our transit system. And I believe online we have Sally Daler. She is our Director of Financial Services in case there are money questions. But I believe you'll remember we presented to the board last year asking for fiscal year 21 funding for the Foothills Express route. And you've got a copy of that brochure with you now. So that's the advertisement for the bus system that runs from Culpeper to Charlottesville 3 days a week, 10 hours per day, providing 3 full loops of service up and down the 29 corridor to get folks down to Charlottesville for medical appointments and to reach other essential goods and services. And we appreciate the County of Madison providing some local match funding for that route last year. So last year, we also talked about how it was transitioning from the Rappahannock-Rapidan Regional Commission. It transitioned from a 5310 route, which was a heavily subsidized system, to a 5311 rural transit system where the subsidy is great, which changed the local match funding. And as such, we have to come up with 32% of the total cost to operate the route. To demonstrate the total amount of local match that we need 32% as shown in the graph. And of that 32%, the total being 29,952. We are asking the County of Madison for $7,000 for fiscal year 22. So you all did partner with us last year, and we appreciate it. And we have also included in the packet some ridership information that shows you the impact that your system is having for the residents of Madison and Culpeper. In fiscal year 19, we were providing about 1,900 rides in a fiscal year. And then, of course, COVID-19 hit in the end of fiscal year 20 and is continuing to impact fiscal year 21. But we still anticipate providing about 1,000 rides in fiscal year 21, which is really good. With that, going forward into FY22, we've got some fun things that have happened and are going to happen if we can continue to enjoy the partnership with Madison. We've had a press release happen in November, which highlighted the local match funding partnerships of Madison, Culpeper, and the Culpeper Powell Wellness Foundation. They have really stepped in to help us all continue to provide service without any cuts or delays to it. Additionally, we are looking at adding a stop in Ruckersville at the Walmart. So residents from Madison could catch the bus here in town, ride down to the Walmart, be dropped off, and an hour later come back if they would like. We're also exploring opportunities for bus stop locations in Madison to make it a little more convenient for the clients. And we could make changes to the route where at this time we're stopping at the food line. If you all would like us to come down Main Street and maybe turn onto Washington and put in a bus stop there, that would be a great location for folks right in the center of town to catch the bus. We also have an opportunity where if the Madison County or Madison Town Economic Development offices, whichever you may have in this area, if they would like to advertise for Madison, we could do a window cling on that bus. So 3 days a week, 3 trips a day, the town of Madison's logo or economic development initiatives could be on one of the windows on the side of that bus, providing some advertisement for the area as well. Because once the pandemic eases out, hopefully tourism will come back. Folks will be visiting the area more. So those are some of the fun things. Again, we really want to thank you for partnering with us in FY21. We hope that your residents are seeing a benefit from the transit service. We also want to announce that there will be a commuter route starting from Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro, going to Charlottesville 5 days a week, and that'll probably start in the fall. What we will also do is, since one of our other regions of Virginia Regional Transit will operate that, we're going to link this to it. So it is possible that someone from the Culpeper-Madison area could ride down, grab that commuter route in Charlottesville, and get all the way to Stanton if they wanted to. Not sure what the purpose may be, but who knows? It would be available. So some exciting things. We hope that we're making proactive steps to make it an impactful service. And again, we want to thank you, and we'll take any questions you have.
COVID-19.
Yes.
We know we have a significant elderly population. The challenge is going to come up here very shortly about getting some of that population and anyone that needs a ride, frankly, to vaccination centers. I mean, what are y'all talking about this, planning for this?
Well, not on a grand scale, but we would certainly talk with the administration if there's something you want to do. Yeah, we could certainly do some sort of service to get the elderly population in the area moved around.
I think elderly is one that comes to mind, but I think kind of anybody that needs a ride. It is going to become an issue pretty promptly, I guess. You got a question?
No, I told this subject came up earlier at a staff meeting this week, and we have some CARES money left over that we could, I mean, you have to come up with a budget, but we have money that we could potentially spend on that. Not a whole lot, but some.
It's going to become a challenge. We're going to need to be able to provide that kind of service. Maybe we need to back into this to figure out what our options are on that.
As the bus doesn't operate on Mondays and Fridays, it's a possibility we can speak with their state grant administrators and discuss the possibility of doing a demand service on the days the bus is free.
So,
Options, yeah.
yeah, as I understand it, what the website is, VAMS, right? VAMS? You go on to VAMS and it will show you what areas have the vaccinations available and which ones are doing the vaccinations. So you could possibly check that out to see what those locations would be. So if it is Harrisonburg or something like that, you'd know that was one of the needed spots to get to.
But
So
As I understand it.
I think in the out of the box is the regional vaccination center. It's this Daniel building up in Culpeper, the Jimana site you can see there, Route 3 and 29.
Okay.
And so they're running all, I mean, we were up there this morning getting shots. And so, that might be a bus stop might help
Okay.
in the short run. So I don't know if that's an option.
Yeah, we
have
can-
to start feeding people into your system in some way, but we probably ought to talk about that before you pull the trigger. But
Sure.
I'm not sure how much adding another stop affects your.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard. We can absolutely do a temporary stop, especially if it's right at 3 and 29. That's not that far from its terminus at this time. So,
Very good.
yeah. Any other questions that we can field for you?
Anything else? Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
All right. Oh, I think Ms. Klockner is with us on the GoToMeeting platform. Ms. Klockner from Legal Aid Works on page 33. Ms. Klockner, tell us things. Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you, Ms. Klockner. Who has questions, Ms. Klockner? In legal aid. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since we've given them any money. Ms. Klockner presents a strong case. Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Klockner. We depleted our surplus. Livingston, how we doing on Vimeo? Gain them leaps and bounds or what?
8 total views now.
Oh, boy. All right, back to the budget workshop. Hobbs, tell us about B1, the budget timetable.
But you've had that in your packet, I guess, before Christmas, but in the short run, we're still working through these budget presentations. I know that several departments are struggling to get their budget numbers together. This should come together. I certainly hope it comes together in the next 2 weeks. You have 2 more rounds of this budget presentation stuff. I would use all of the regular and joint meetings if we need to do anything to get caught up, just to we have any rough edges on that, just to kind of float along, but we're more or less on track for this.
Anything on B2, Hobbs?
Yes, and I think I've asked it out. Ms. Fry has been working with all these different agencies, this sheet here. So she had, as of 12 o'clock today, who was supposed to be on and when. And so there's that. And then on the back is who she projects, who she's dickering with to come on the 28th and then February 4th. So, just to project what's ahead. We'll obviously be refining this. If there's somebody on here you don't want to hear from, let us know. If there's somebody we've missed, also let us know so we can adjust.
I'm super excited to meet with Carol.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you call him that.
Yeah, I plan to. Carol,
Jerry.
number one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And
then
Gerald.
What else got off?
And that's what I have. I'm not ready to talk about budget performance or year to date.
You else got any questions, comments, thoughts on anything above or all that?
So I was looking at a spreadsheet from last year, MJ. Look, we've got what, 74 departments, if I go by all those numbers. Did 74 different department heads?
And outside agencies.
Oh, and outside agencies. That's right.
Not exactly. There's some of these agencies or departments are one line that.
Oh, that we won't.
Automatic, and so it's.
Yeah, okay.
For example, the National Park State requires us to pay money to maintain parks, and so we have to provide that, and so that's a budget department. It doesn't track exactly, and these departments are all unique and different in different ways. For example, there might be Soil and Water Conservation District that's got its programs, and then you've got the Sheriff's Department that's got its stuff. So they're not all on par. If that makes sense.
Well, so the ones that we're gonna have on the 28th, are they in this packet here?
Some are, some aren't. We will be supplementing this material.
Yeah.
And like Mr. Wilson says, I mean, sometimes people goof up and send us the wrong stuff, and I don't think he has made it into the edition you have. So we have to keep adjusting this.
So you
going forward.
You think we can get these by, see, what's today? By like Monday or so? I'm not smart enough to sit here and try to read this and listen to them at the same time. I can't do it. My brain doesn't work that way. Some people can, I
Are you
can't.
talking about outside agencies or are you talking?
Yeah, whoever's presenting on the 28th, I need it.
I don't have that list.
Can we
It's on the back of the list.
maybe by
I don't have that.
maybe see if we get us whatever you got like Tuesday off. So
Yeah.
if we can get it, whatever he's got by Tuesday, it's gotta be better than nothing at all. And we know that it's a challenge.
It is,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter how you do it. It looks like just an absolute nightmare.
A lot of stuff.
It's just, I mean, this packet that we're working off today, what's it total? 1,246 pages. And it's missing stuff from the 28th. I mean, just a ton of stuff. Give us some ideas. It's
Well, I
terrible.
used to do it all by myself.
I mean, we
No,
all sympathize with you.
And I did a lot of other stuff too.
Let's see what we got. Can we go from there? Don't want to take 5 minutes or something, or, yeah. There you go. Fine.
So just to be clear, I don't have any responsibilities related to either is talking about the FY capital or actual budget. I mean, if you expect any information from me on that subject, I need to know about it. For next, I know it all, I know it all in my head.
Do you?
No,
Shoot, what else do we need?
you'd be surprised.
Sir,
Wonder why he didn't send me an email to book the shot.
cell tower. Oh, the lawsuit? Yeah. MJ, did you send Chuck some stuff on the cell tower cost?
I know. He's on top of everything.
The lawsuit?
We have this ongoing conversation. We don't have a resolution on, I mean, I can tell you how much we spent, but I can't tell you what is county costs versus what's recoverable.
I thought you sent you, I will follow up. I thought you did. But no, I thought it was done, so.
I can tell you that Ligon is looking into this. I've talked to him, I've had several conversations with him. Because we have this misunderstanding about potentially what is gonna be covered and what's not. Or it's not to me right now, I don't understand it. So I can give you a number.
No, agents.
It doesn't mean a whole lot, 'cause some of it's recoverable and some of it isn't. You know what I mean?
That's part of what I
Yeah.
asked.
We don't, literally, I don't know the answer to that right now. I'm trying to figure that out. Because we most likely need a budget adjustment.
Yeah.
And I don't have any answer.
She said the same thing she said last year.
Why are you laughing?
I'm gonna ask
She's
you.
Laughing at me.
No, she told us about the clock.
I don't think it was anything to do with social services.
I'm so tired right now.
Don't fall asleep on us.
I'm really tired. I'm really dying today.
Mid-afternoon nap?
Huh?
Need a mid-afternoon nap?
Would you stay up and watch
Yeah.
Feel good,
everything last
feel
night?
good.
I don't think my wife went to bed till.
Most people,
No, Courtney, I'm actually not watching any news.
and they may not.
Have you cleansed yourself?
Period. I don't care anymore. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. The less I know, the better.
Take a break.
I will tell you, I'm somewhat distressed. Well, maybe I better not say. Give away my politics too much.
Depending on what you make, you may have to pay something.
No, I've decided that the best way for me
Or you may not pay anything.
to do news
Yeah.
is to read it online, and I do it in small increments.
I listen to NPR.
It can be just one person.
I just can't.
Have the other.
I get very upset if I listen to it all the time, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah, just switch over to Andy's name.
I tell you, I've had two parents that have suffered with dementia. I recognize the symptoms. That's all I'm gonna tell you. That's my one comment.
Just gave it away right there.
Huh?
Just gave it away right there.
Well, you know, all I can tell you is, if you know anybody that has parents that have problems, who spend a lot of
What
time.
happened to Amber, do you know?
I do, I know several. They tend to be people around my age.
I tried to call her, I texted her.
They all say the same thing.
That's a terrible illness, though.
Huh?
That's a terrible, terrible illness.
It's like you lose the person before you lose the body.
Yes.
That's what's really hard about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, Cardi, my youngest daughter had to have a 4-hour stress test
Yeah,
yesterday.
then we can have President Kamala.
She did it right.
That's why I'm watching.
So I don't really so stressed. Take a break.
It's really like, I'm really not political. I mean, I have opinions,
Yeah.
but there's anybody that I like. Like nobody really represents what I think. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm a Republican or Democrat.
Right. You need
I
some
think I like everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't even went until this period of time where I refused to vote for anybody. I voted for President Obama the first time
Yes.
because I was She said, Mom, I couldn't stand. I couldn't stand John McCain.
Yes.
And then the second time, I couldn't stand Mitch McConnell, and I couldn't stand Obama either, so I.
Put it off.
And it was like a conscious thing.
Yeah.
I just decided not to vote, because I couldn't vote for you. Huh?
Eventually, I think we're gonna get someone that we really, like, everybody wants to get behind.
I think you're being optimistic.
I hope.
To see how my heart is, maybe you start with that before you do stress test.
I still
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, that's what I figured.
I don't know.
Ed's always had a
in the United States
good
is a
heart.
big job, and I'm awfully worried about who has that job right now.
Blood pressure comes in. You have a regular heartbeat. Oh, really? I mentioned that.
You make the argument that Trump wasn't temperamentally suited to. I would probably agree with that. But that's just being.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to have a common name.
I know, I heard it.
You're still
streaming
live out there.
Oh, God.
Last time I did it.
I'm incredibly optimistic.
And then you didn't say anything.
No, you
was unreasonable at all. Matter of fact, you make sense.
Everyone has an opinion.
Cranked it up. I cranked it
I think I should do it. Everybody would vote for me.
Point of Virgo.
You are going to edit this out?
I will eventually, but it's not edited right
When he gets to it,
now.
like,
Just make sure.
he'll add a little bubble, like pop-up video pointing to you.
I mean, I.
Hey, listen,
You don't know. What paladins do you cover?
Just now.
Virginia Beach.
Sometimes Orange
Blowing out of South, I couldn't.
You only
see
deal with
any
local politics.
And I was out there. So.
Because I would be like, I mean, I would
I
not
was
cover Trump.
denied oxygen, so I was breathing in smoke, so when that happens, it trigger pain. So this is one of the stress tests. So that was.
But it's not being, it's not apathy.
I had,
Yeah. It's a conscious
early
decision.
It is.
one night. I was fine. Went and got to bed, lay there, turned the basketball game on, went, uh-oh. I could feel it immediately. My mother lived with me. She had it always.
I haven't had anything really. I just mentioned it to the easy people. I would better go get you fed with monitor. All right.
So your daughter, she was gonna get the test today?
Bruce, how do I make a public comment on this? It shows up now.
Oh.
You gotta go to meeting to make a public comment. Or you can go, you can go to the video, or you can go to chat. And I'll pop right up there.
Yeah.
So you can chat, go to meeting, you can chat video. You can't do nothing on YouTube. Or watch.
Yeah, how come you have that blocked off? You just don't want people coming in on
You're
YouTube?
on off, Fred.
Being at home.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
4 days ago.
I don't
I
think
was-
they offer the
My
chat
suspicion.
on, I mean, you can do like, if you log
So we
in
would
with
start
your
right.
Yeah.
YouTube, you can do like thumbs up and thumbs down.
Right.
I bet you could comment on
I'm
that. Did you try it?
No, it looked like it wouldn't let you comment.
I bet you.
But I was curious to see
I'll
if
look
anybody
it
ever
up,
did.
because I
Not great.
usually log in with
Probably
my
not.
number. If I
All
don't
right.
comment on something on
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
I usually don't because they make me log in to comment.
And you don't want to be identified that easily.
Corey, that's
No.
digestive system.
I think they're really happy. Are you actually?
I think I tried it down.
Yeah.
Two is where I go down.
They're dead.
No, that's,
I quit.
Huh?
I'm not sure that's right.
No, it can't hurt either.
No, is it, did I send it?
I test for this.
Are you looking at an email that I sent?
You use it, taste it.
No, what I'm trying to tell you is I retract my emails. I don't, we can't accurately answer that question right now. That's what I'm telling you is I would. I get some more information. And I'm actually. Yeah. You sent me on the trail of something that I didn't know about.
Cut it down.
It's that number, the number that I told you about how many bills we have.
Sure.
And I just.
And that's only really a result of,
Since there's no.
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, that's.
There's three prices, right?
Yeah.
They want.
And not the part of what he did because Sean couldn't do, only the part having to do
The number.
with the lawsuit.
Okay, see, that's the part I can't figure out. Yeah, that's the part.
Explain that into this. Did Bill Campbell have a cell tower that was 99 feet tall?
I don't know, he might have.
I think he did, because I remember coming to my office having this conversation about his 99 feet tall.
Put it out there on Bill's property.
Oh, yeah. Everything is
Yeah, Bill was super, he was super
I
proud
think
of
it
that.
was 99 feet tall, because he wanted to do it by right.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was.
by right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I had,
130 feet tall.
I had friends,
State law.
Oh, well, there's
Which-
100 feet, that's part of the problem.
Because that's what, I remember, I remember.
oh, yes,
Probably, Clint had, Clint said that.
all right, we're back in session, I guess. Just because he looks like he is real ready. John Reed, tell us.
Yeah.
And when are you moving these buildings? Yeah, you're in real trouble now, John.
What trailers are you talking about? I'm
Thought he
sorry.
had it worked out.
Yours.
Those trailers next to next to your office that are in super high demand right now, and we really need to do this fast. Do you think we can get titles to these good looking?
Storage,
I doubt it.
no,
Yeah, very much. I couldn't imagine. I would guess that Sean Gregg can get us some type of titles for these things, maybe. You figure that's the best option?
I don't know how that works between manufactured housing and other, the story I got was these things were installed prior to the 70s, which was before building codes, so it may or may have predated some of those titling rules. I don't know.
John, we probably don't know, which means no, we probably do not have the titles. But we can try to figure that out. But
What do we sign?
we feel we can come to a deal as well. Who has questions for John Reed? John, you basically, I think you asked for 7,500 last year, is that right? Anybody have any questions for John? John, thank you. Get back to us on these trailers. They're hot. Get back to us on the trailers. Thank you, John. It sounds great, John. We're open for negotiations. Thank you. He's got to take these trailers from us. This is going to work out great.
Have we told him they're free?
Don't tell him that. Come on. I got a proposal. Let's see what he comes up with.
Let him have it.
Good for John Reed.
Remember last year when he asked for 75 and we said, why? He said, I don't really know. My board told me to.
He's honest.
All right. It looks like we have, I don't know who's doing, I don't see anybody, so we're just gonna skip ahead to services to abused families. Ms. Hedges, welcome. Yes, ma'am. Tell us about your organization, what you're asking for, all of the above. Questions for Ms. Hedges?
I have a quick one, I guess. I see that you've got MOUs, you refer to as MOUs and network, community partner networks, Commonwealth attorney, victim witness. We met earlier today with somebody from Foothills Child Advocacy. Is that someone else you work with? Our manager.
So, yeah, I've got one. Ms. Hedges, so how Mesa in Madison used to be in this business, if you will. Do you all not do anything with Mesa anymore? Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Ms. Hedges, thank you very much. Text Larissa about that Foothills Child Advocacy. She says they're big help. I mean, and cases are up. That's what a shame.
Oh, yeah,
That's real bad.
this is not a good time for
All right. Now, we got Helen, Sarah Morgan from Virginia Career Works. No, we did hear from them. And we nothing from regional dentist. Regional dentist was supposed to be on at 4:05, they're late.
She had that on the list, but could not get anybody to commit to,
Ms. Fry could. All right. So let's just, there you go.
we can look at the budget if you like.
What?
We can look at the budget if you like. What
All right.
do you want
Piedmont Regional Dental, 376. Yes, ma'am.
Oops.
Did you say 376?
They asked for last
Doesn't look
year.
right to me.
Hang on.
How'd you find?
Yeah, 381
Oh, so-
starts.
Starts at
All right, here we go.
360.
Yeah, I started 381, that's a good one.
So that's it.
There's the
370, I'm sorry.
370.
370.
There it is, yeah. 5,000, how much did we give them last year?
I think it was 5,000.
They are, 51,700. I certainly can't think we gave them 5K.
No, I don't think we give them much.
I think Medicaid expansion complicated things for them.
There's a long-term executive director left, I just don't know. We gave them 2,500.
Piedmont Regional Dentistry, one's 5. 2,500 left. They're the ones that go into the schools.
And they do the veteran thing every year.
I
The veterans is the thing
I think they asked for 5 last year, I think we gave them 25. I could be wrong, but that's my record.
Well, they do veterans.
Don't seem like us.
Huh?
Would you say they do veterans?
Yeah, like one day a year, they have like a big veteran thing where they like do the veterans teeth,
They do
for lack of a better term.
American Eagle.
No, I think they actually do it at they had a big facility in Orange. I don't know if they still have it there or not.
Yeah, the one in the shopping center on the other side of town.
Yes. Yep.
Um,
it's the same shopping center that has country cooking or had country cooking.
I'm gonna circle up and do
Tractor
the word
Supply.
and
Tractor Supply.
county attorney.
Yeah.
It's the whole list.
All right. Let's go to the Board of Supervisors. Board of Supervisors, page 1,
mhm.
we're up $2,000.
Yes, my thought there is that you, with an election coming this summer and new board members probably this fall, you want to have a good retreat next December or so. So that's a little bit of money for that.
Everybody fine on the Board of Supervisors?
Yeah, I'm hoping to find a real problem that's taking us.
Hopefully what?
Find somebody really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no raises.
The damn county attorney is actually getting cheaper.
And the next one, page 2, is county attorney, yes. This is generally a restoration of funding and some tinkering with this business about the code service, which we don't, we're through with the project, but we'll still need to maintain the county code through this budget. Our contract with Sean says that we're supposed to budget $16,000. We didn't last year, that got cut, but, and we're obviously going to have a big overrun in that line this year. This is about next year, not this current year. That's where that is.
I think we're doing pretty good.
Nothing
I
remarkable.
think we're doing pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll take this one for you.
Board of Equalization. Going up, $1,000 on, or $900 on, clerical. On Board of Equalization.
There's no,
The budget.
Shouldn't need them this year.
Oh, excuse me.
but that one
On
was,
FY20 actual.
Yeah.
Probably should wait for Ms. Murray.
That's about it.
All right, I got one for you. This doesn't have anything to do with budget. Last night, the, planning commission, hospital, not like this. I just want to put that proposal for our next meeting, but I want everybody to think about it. Last night, the planning commission talked about, they have been instructed by us apparently that special use permits need open highway approval. I think we need to be very, very clear in the direction of them. I was thinking that we said that for site plans and subdivisions, open highway approval before it comes in front of both boards. Special use permits, I view a little bit differently, as they're kind of case by case deal. We need to put a direction towards this, we need to do it probably at this upcoming meeting. Bob's gonna come up with a memo or.
Right. My concept is we need to maybe go beyond that because we got, different scenarios for these board level approvals for zoning things. There's a rezoning, there's a subdivision, there's a special use permit, and there's a site plan. There might be more, but those are the ones that ring a bell with me. It's required that you have a public hearing for rezonings and special use permits. It's not required by the state for site plans and subdivisions. So last I checked, there was still some question on whether the county was going to require those in these different scenarios. The idea that what we require before the board approves an application for rezoning or use permits is maybe on one level. What might be required for a subdivision or site plan is different. Because one is prescribed state process, the other one is more local option, which you can do. My theory is that if the board, if we're going to require administrative approvals to be in hand before somebody comes for a board level approval for subdivisions or site plans, maybe we ought to require that as part of the initial application, because how many meetings have we gone to? Not in recent times because we've reduced the number of applications, but somebody makes an application and then it comes hearing night and they don't have their VDOT approval or septic tank approval or well approval or stormwater approval or any of this stuff. And so if my theory is that if the board is going to require that for any of them, that ought to be part of the initial application package right up front. It's up to the board and the planning commission, of course, on how far to go on each of these. Seems to me the proper way to do it is to articulate that so everybody understands between the board, the planning commission, and staff and applicants what the rules are. So if it's either in the ordinance itself or we put it in black and white with the application, if you apply, these are required. So everybody knows the rules up front, so we can get away from these conversations about, well, we thought the rules were this way, and you have a new person, no, it's not the way I did it back home, and just to get it sorted and cleared, to get past these conversations. That makes sense. So the venue is to work it up a little bit, ask the board to send that to the planning commission. I might be killing on that with a sledgehammer because the current issue is this use permit thing, but it's the same thing, only different, depending on the process.
It seems like we tasked them with something different. We just need to be done with this. I'm tired of hearing about it.
We have one more thing, and I'm not sure it came up last night. We've got a clause in the zoning ordinance that regulates political campaign signs. And if you're familiar with that, I think it was maybe 8 or 10 years ago, the state took away local authority on that. So that's a line in the zoning ordinance that needs to go away. So my thought is, if we're processing other zoning ordinance amendments, let's tack that onto the package and just clean that, at least that one thing up. So we those questions. That ought to be uncontroversial, but we'll just take a hearing process to amend the zoning. Yet more to work up from the meeting next week.
Yeah.
The planning commission is also going to take up cell phone towers and the ordinance that goes along with that. Supposedly, it's back when you started, Kevin, a long time ago.
Yeah, they think.
I didn't understand.
Thank you.
Last night when we were talking about it, they said that they insinuated, they said, by right, you can put up a tower that's 99 feet, which they refer back to, Lagan referred back to. And that probably was in reference to amateur radio, which probably makes pretty good sense. But then they went down the path, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but they said that there's the potential for a private individual to go out there and put up a cell phone tower and then rent it out to different cell phone providers, and that should not be allowed by right. I have mixed emotions on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that that they're doing doing some business there. In the grand scheme of things, bringing out a site, like they talked about earlier in the meeting, as an accessory dwelling would be, for like Airbnb, would be an accessory. I would think that a private individual, if they have the capital and the gumption to go and put up a tower, and then they want to rent it out to some cell phone companies, well, I would say good for them and thumbs up, you know? I don't
Yes.
think that is business.
Yeah,
On their property, they paid for it.
It's their business.
It's a business.
I mean, why am I looking at it?
well, that's what they were saying. That's the reason they had a problem with it. They said it's a business now.
It's not.
Right. That was their,
Yeah, but
that's
I
what
mean,
their thought. Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't really have any problem with it.
I mean, especially in today's day and age where we know it's such a challenge to get a cell phone company to put up a tower, or anybody to put up a tower. If somebody was gonna take it upon themselves and put up a tower, and then go through the hard work of trying to get AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, whoever, to put up radio or antennas on it,
Mm-hmm.
good for them.
I personally can't see a cell company doing something that low, but I can see an internet service provider like Clinton or somebody or Piedmont or whatever. That's the size that they want. And if that can feed 20 people, 20 families,
Exactly.
you know, and what the guy will get out of it is he'll get free internet.
Yeah. That's usually what happens, yeah.
It's called.
What do you got? No.
Go ahead.
All right. Helen Kaufman, with Central Virginia Economic Development Partnership. Helen, can you hear us? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Welcome. Tell us about things and what you're asking for. Who has questions for Ms. Kaufman? Anybody?
So, well,
Yeah, please.
yeah, just Ms. Cawthon, so how do you all measure success with your dollars? Thank you.
All right, other questions?
Specific.
Ellen keeps sending us business. Thank you. Plateau. Yeah, tell her.
Tracy Gardner says the meetings Helen mentioned were instrumental throughout the year. Also, through our Go VA programs, we received an additional $40,000 in grant monies.
Crafting.
Oh, you see that? Sorry.
Yeah, I can. No, you're doing better than me. I like hearing from you, Livingston. Anytime I can call like you, I want to take advantage of it.
We had a CPM meeting virtual the other week, and one of the women had her camera on. She was putting her makeup on at her desk the whole time.
Good.
Right at her desk.
I have had people diplomatically say, remember, folks, we can see you sometimes.
That's right.
Early on in COVID, there was a teacher who's out, I think she's out of Chicago, and she's up there talking to the school board in person, and she says, "This is a message to all of you and all of you that have children," and went down the whole list. School starts at 9 o'clock, not 9:15, not 9:30. Kids should be dressed, not in what they were sleeping in. You should be dressed. I mean, just everything under the sun. I mean, just and she hit all the high points, like everything. How'd you get a lot of that?
Well, it's hard to describe and hard to measure. It's kind of like the Planning District Commission. If we weren't members and we weren't participating, there'd be a time where we wish we did. This is our conduit to some of these state agencies that want to deal with a regional group because they can't deal with all of us locals. They run interference with them on a lot of things. My thing is that if we do have a good economic development prospect, we tag Helen and put her on the team to help close the deal when it comes to some of these interactions with the state. So it's hard to describe, but it is worth it. It's the venue where I guess higher ed, the private sector, chamber of commerce folks and all that, and local government come together. If everybody chips in, $10,000, it's, you can afford to hire staff and you can afford to send people to conferences and meetings and so forth. It gives us a dimension we don't have. If that makes sense.
How often do they meet? Do y'all meet?
They have a main meeting every other month. They have a whole series of other committees. it's like a lot of groups, Cardi. If you want to get more involved, they have opportunities for that. I'm not on any of their subcommittees. Tracy participates a lot with the marketing team.
Oh, I didn't know where that was coming from.
So it's worth it, but it's hard to kind of like.
Oh, thank you.
How do you?
It is surprising for government. How you mean to see it at the table?
No, it's like the planning district. How do you measure Patrick Maloney's success? And it's like, he's there, he's on call, he does good work for us, and it costs money, but you know, what would we have without that group?
Ever since they redid the comp plan, he was super helpful on that. It seems like we tapped into Patrick Money like crazy. He has provided some excellent feedback.
Yeah, when I asked him where he got the memo, he got it off their website, where he just scours stuff to see what's going on.
Well, I called him, it's like, you know, we sounds like we're going down the path of doing something.
Okay,
Broadband.
so-
Give me some good ideas, Patrick.
Yeah,
So there you go. I mean, what's that worth? And any follow-up by reading Mr. Works.
Help the family. Help them, but on their health.
Yeah.
Do anything beyond this one, or is this the end of the meeting? I think I'm just gonna leave. I'm feeling a little lightheaded.
It's all light. It's gonna get better.
No,
We're getting
it's-
better
I
lighting,
don't know
right?
what's wrong with me. I feel a little
Oh,
strange.
I don't know about the light. You didn't very audio and visual.
Those lights are on.
No,
I know,
I can't buy these anymore.
Ah, here we go. Hello, Ms. Martin. More presenters like that. That is it. Get to the message and let that is the way to do it right there. Questions? What would be fun to do?
500 last year.
500 over.
Any other?
Does anybody have questions for Ms. Morton?
I don't believe so.
No, you did a great job. Thank you, Ms. Morton.
But Miss Morton is new as of last year, I believe.
Are you new this year?
Last year.
Last year?
I remember her bringing energy that I didn't sense before. Hey,
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Morton.
As well. All right. Yes, public comments. Yes.
I just wanted to be clear about something that when you're setting your priorities, where you said that the records management system is still a priority. The records management system, Laserfish is a records management system.
Yeah.
So we haven't implemented it yet, but we've at least gone through procurement on that. Right now, I mean, the way Laserfish, in a lot of counties, it's become a countywide records management system. It normally starts out in the financial areas, and then it expands into other areas, like EMS could use it, 911 could use it. It would cost more money to do that as you add users. But I mean, we do have, it's not functioning yet, but I mean, we have at least made preliminary steps to have that. And right now, county administration would use it, finance would use it, treasurer would use it, commissioner of revenue, and building planning and zoning, they would all be using it.
So what is?
So there are some, we have made some progress in that area.
Good. You brought up like EMS. What is, how do they keep track of their records?
I don't know. I mean, that's actually, so there's this question about when you say, it's something that really hasn't been fleshed out. When you say records management, do you mean an entity-wide records management system, or do you mean like a records management for like finance and county administration? You kind of have to, I mean, Clarissa has made a lot of progress. She has her own records management system. I think the sheriff has something like that. I don't know what 911 has, but I mean, there's certainly different rules. You know, Library of Virginia puts out rules on all different sorts of things on what you have to keep, and every department has different retention records. But the advantage of having something like Laserfish is that once you get the documents into the system, you set the rules to you know, according to your retention schedule, and then it manages that automatically. They auto delete after, you know, whatever the rule you tell the rule to do. So we have made some progress in that area. Not a whole lot, but a little bit.
Yes, sir.
So this is typical for county departments. Every unit is doing its own thing. It's just built up and evolved over time, department by department. I think my impression in the case of EMS is they've got they've got different systems that are electronic. So there's all these disparate things they can get into, this and that. So it's not really organized per se. I think that's the idea, is that you find some ways like where's your list of records systems, and then you try to get those coordinated in some way, because you know, it's just every department's got this batch of paper over time, and some of it's time related, some of it's critical, some of it's can be thrown away. It's just something we need to do better at, and that's. Where does it fall on the priority scheme?
No, we're making.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
But laser,
Yeah.
MJ, so Laserfish will alert you to, we've got so-and-so lease coming up in the next 60 days, blah, 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 all that.
I don't even know if it notifies you, but there are counties in northern Virginia that have won like excellence in government awards with what they've done with Laserfish. But it's probably not realistic to think that you can do that count. That's not the way it normally happens. You don't normally start out and do every department all at one time. You basically, you know, get people. So like in Hanover, it started in the Commissioner of Revenue's office. And Hanover is another county that uses it countywide now. So the goal, now the cost will go up as you include additional
User base.
But it's a very flexible product. It can be structured in lots of different ways. It can accommodate different records for different departments. And
Sounds good.
it's,
Yes.
I mean, it really does.
you can set security on it instead of like one person can get into another person's stuff.
All we gotta do is show a department head what the advantages of having it, and away you go, right?
Look at the direction that Lindsay took, and now I guess Livingston's got it. Is that
Yeah, the FOIA.
the social media, what was that? What's the name of that one that Parks and Rec got, Livingston? The social media.
Honestly, don't remember the
It was-
name.
Whatever that was, I
Or
mean,
backup.
it can use 10 users, and we know that's an emerging place that we must pertain, and we must preserve based on FOIA. This puts us in.
Something about that,
Yeah,
try to stand out, because I guess we're gonna start paying it.
yeah,
So this year it was like 700, next year it's like 24.
Yeah, we got a deal,
yeah.
first
Well,
year.
we get 10 sites, it's something we gotta have. All right, what else we got? Anything else? Public comment? Public comment? Thank y'all for sticking with us and putting up with it. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Clay?
Oh, yes, sir.
I sort of on the information correspondence. I see on the next two budget meetings, we're gonna have Commonwealth Attorney, and then we've got Defend Aid and Restoration, our Forensic Community Criminal Justice Board coming up. I have not seen what Clarissa's put together, but I know she's working on some things that I think she's gonna advocate for. Maybe you have, Jack, I don't know. That the criminal justice planner, our friend Neil, has got a report that's dialed right into Madison County. He's been talking to other counties, and he wants to come, and I know Clarissa wants us to see this report. And it talks about, why, what sort of crimes has our clients over at the regional jail. Good news is our proportion is going down next year for the jail contribution. But anyway, I haven't asked anybody to because we were so swamped at the end of last year. I didn't want us to have to deal with listening to Neil and his charts. I get the charts, but I've been looking at his charts, and I do that for a living. So that's I have more of a stomach for it than a lot of people. But I have been promising. I mean, Clarissa's counting on us having a look at what Neil has at an upcoming meeting, if we can do that.
Which one is Neil? Oh, wait, or?
Yeah, he usually comes with the guy from Defend Aid and Restoration.
You're conveying that the Commonwealth Attorney is in agreement?
Clarissa, the Commonwealth Attorney has decided that Neil isn't full of it after all, and that what Neil, what the criminal justice planner is, putting together in terms of statistics that relates to drug use and drug convictions, and so he can speak to that ad nauseum. There's other things too that has folks landing in jail, and we're us paying for it. And to her credit, I think the Commonwealth Attorney is attempting to be proactive about those kinds of things. I'll give her.
We need to do some trading, and probably just to make it work, we should throw OAR on the day of the Commonwealth Attorney.
If this is the setting you want to see them in, I think that does make sense.
Sure, do some more trading. I don't think it doesn't particularly matter whether or not we do it on the 28th or the 4th. See what.
I don't know what availability is.
See what you can figure out. Does that make sense to everybody? Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's one.
Jack, is the fire company not coming?
No, the fire company just sent out a thing. They're working on their budget tonight.
Oh, that's right, they are. That's right.
I would guess they'll be here.
Yep, I forgot about that.
guess it's gonna be a very similar request to the last 20 years. They've asked for the same amount of money for forever. I mean, it's never, it's nothing. Look, they do such good work. Anything else, folks?
Just, any comments about how this went down? I mean, sounds like a lot of folks still want to come in person, but there are folks that want to go from afar.
Working
Okay,
fine.
this business.
Unfortunately, this is what we gotta do, because we're fine, no big deal, let's move on with it. No.
Always looking for a better idea. Okay,
No,
all
that's
right.
fine. I will say, and I like calling him Livingston, but if we don't need to tie Livingston up, we should get him to sign us on and get you out here, because I figure you got important stuff to be doing. More important than listen to us, or me jabber on.
It's very entertaining, but I do think.
Let's figure out a way, you're a tactful soul, Livingston. Let's figure out a way to turn these dang things on and get Livingston out of here, and then Bob's not gonna handle this.
It's not that hard.
I doubt that, but we'll try it, we'll see how it goes, it can't go worse, I mean, good job.
One thing is it doesn't go right and we figure out what went wrong and learn from it. That's what I've done the whole time.
Let's get Livingston out of here, unless you're on the list next week, you on the list next week?
I'm probably on many lists, but not this.
No, you're not on the list, we're not giving you any money. All right, anything else, folks? Hearing none.
Second.
Motion made, second. Other discussion, hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, thank y'all. Frank can be here, we don't even have to make him wait.
Amber can, talk.
No,
I did it, What is that?
All right.
Excellent.